Welcome to the Neighborhood Mic, conversations from the heart of the community, where the stories are real, the voices are powerful, and the work is happening right here in our neighborhoods. Brought to you by Safe and Sound.
On this mic, we amplify voices that don't always get heard. We tap into real issues and we highlight the people that's doing something about it. Because at Safe and Sound, we don't just talk community, we connect it and we champion it.
So whether you're tuning in to learn, to grow, or to be inspired, you're at the right place. Pull up a seat, tap in, and let's pass the mic.
Hey y'all, welcome back to another episode of the Neighborhood Mic Podcast. I'm your host, Trell Johnson. We got our co-host, Elaine De La Cruz, and the special guest, Miss Sharlen.
Yes.
This is an amazing episode today, man. We got one of the most amazing women, black women in the community here today. And for the people that don't know who you are, because a lot of people do, for the people that don't, explain and tell everybody a little bit about yourself.
Well, a lot of people do, but a lot of people don't. We got a big city here. But number one, thank you all so much for having me. I'm always honored when I get an opportunity to connect with community partners and to just be able to share a little bit about myself. So my name is Sharlen Moore. I am currently serving a 4-year term. I'm halfway in my first term. People are like, you've been here for a year? No, I've only been here. This is my first term. And I am the 10th District Alderwoman for the city of Milwaukee.
Wow. 10. So I want to, let's start. We talked off camera a little bit, but let's start off I know you for something not Alderwoman style, Urban Underground.
Yeah.
And I heard you started it very, very young. Let's go deep into why you started it and how you started it.
Yeah, absolutely. So prior to me coming into office, I co-founded an organization called Urban Underground. I co-founded it with my husband, Reggie Moore, who works now for the Medical College of Wisconsin. He does a lot of work around violence prevention. But we started Urban Underground very young, right? In our, I think we were probably still teenagers. We were out of high school, and we wanted to we met each other at the YMCA. So North Central YMCA right on 12th and Garfield. And that's how I got the love of working with young people, working with my peers. I was still young at the time. So I was working with my peers, and I really enjoyed. We started the first youth program there called Teen Achievers, which is, it was called Leaders Club, but now it's called Teen Achievers, which is part of the Black Achievers program of the Y. And it was one of those things where you get that rush, as a young person, like, ooh, we could run things, we could be in charge, and we had adult advisors. And so it was really a fulfilling thing for me that young people can actually make a difference and actually make a change. And so we took that energy, and when we got out of high school, we were going to college, we were doing workshops for elementary school age young people, because we wanted them to have decision making skills, and we wanted to build young people in a community that just knew how to connect with each other. And shortly after that, it spurred into our organization. We started in 2000, and it spurred Urban Underground, which was a youth leadership and social justice organization. And we've had many young people that are now adults that came out of the program. One infamous young person was David Crawley, County Executive Crawley, who is now running for governor, and many more. You have Ray Nitty. Everybody, some folks know Ray Nitty. He also came out of Urban Underground. Jeff Kennedy, who runs Power Forward Media. My son worked for him. Now he's in, he's doing his own thing. Like, it's so many, and I can go on and on and on about the hundreds of young people that came out of the organization and just doing some incredible things today.
Wow. I want to go deep into, because you started it young, right?
Mm-hmm.
When did you know that you was a leader?
Oh, that's a great question. I think I knew that when I was a teenager. And so when I was a part of, just part of the Y itself, so we were talking, I got my first job at the YMCA. They came to my school and they were like, well, if you could learn how to swim and we could give you a job. I was like, swim, job, sold.
Yeah.
And that's what me and a few of my friends did. I went to the Y, I learned how to swim, I became a lifeguard, I became a swim instructor, and then everything else sort of flourished. Like we ran the front desk, the teen center, we were everywhere. Me and my peers were everywhere in a part of the Y, and that for me gave me like, oh, I can, like you're putting me in charge of all these things. I did summer camp. The second year I was the summer camp director, because I was just like, nah, I know how to do this well. You know what I mean? And so it was just one of those things where when you provide the infrastructure and the opportunity, young people, they thrive. And that was one of the things like, well, you can't tell us nothing. We got this. We're running things, And so I think I knew just very early on that I was a leader through those experiences.
Wow. What? That's, I gotta pause because I was just hearing that is crazy. Like me being a young leader I am today, I knew what I can do, but it took me a while to do it. And you started off and just went.
Yeah.
You had the opportunity and you took full advantage of it, right? My question to you is, as you was being this leader, you was how did you get through the adversity? Because for me, as a young leader today, in high school, I went to Washington High School. It wasn't cool being a school ambassador. Like, not that it wasn't cool, it was not the trending thing, right? Like it wasn't, you didn't get cool points from your peers by being a leader. So how was it like that for you back then? Like, did you get accepted by your peers? If not, how did you keep going to pursue this leadership role that you was as a team?
Yeah, I think for me it was, we were the trendsetters. You know what I mean? We were around, we pulled in other young people to say, hey, you can be a part of this community that you also get to lead. You also get to figure out ways to build community and to build your own set of leadership skills. So we were the trendsetters. We were the ones that was just like, what you doing? Like, you know what I mean? And when you know better, you do better, right? And so when we understood sort of the power that we had, and this was back in like the late 90s, you know what I mean? So, times were a little bit different, but you had young people that were hungry for people that cared about them in an environment where they could be a part of and be safe. They could be a part of and be nurtured. You know what I mean? So we had this perfect storm because we also had adults around us that showed us tough love. There was this one time where I think Reggie ended up coming. We were going on a field trip, and Reggie ended up coming late, and they were like, nope, you're late. You can't come on the field trip.
Wow.
And everybody on the bus was like, no, that's not fair. And it was hilarious, but at the same time, we knew that we wanted to advocate for him. Yes, he's late, but you're showing tough love, but we want him to be here, right? And so he was able to get on. They were like, okay, but we had adult advisors, and I just met one of my other adult advisors just actually a few days ago, Miss Sandy Eaton, and I'm just like, they loved us unconditionally, but they provided us the space to make mistakes. They provided us the space to be corrected, right? And they supported us. They coached us, and it's the environment that we build, and it's the same thing now. Where when we started Urban Underground, we wanted to build an environment for young people to be nurtured, for them to understand that regardless of your beginnings, regardless of where you came from, regardless of what school that you go to or the neighborhood that you live in, you still have the power to change your life. And it has to start with you. So that inward right? Really, supporting a young person to say, you know what, we gotta talk about what does healing look like? What does, good health look like? Because you have to be in a place first where you're whole before I can tell you, oh, we finna go feed the homeless. Or we finna go build community, right? And so with that, we're just like, how do you heal yourself so that you can be the best that you can be to go out and build community?
So I kind of have like a piggyback question off of what Cheryl said. You said back then how the YMCA gave you a chance to be a leader, to show your leadership skills, but also to be corrected and grow.
Sure.
What do you think has changed from late 90s, early 2000s to today, now 2026? With the youth?
Yeah, that's actually a really, really great question. I think a lot has changed, right? With just the evolution of technology, right? So back in the day, we were outside. Like when people said outside, like no, we were really outside, right? We didn't. It was the proliferation of like cell phones. Some of us had pagers. I'm dating myself, right? Like, oh man, I had my blue pager. You could tell me nothing.
One too.
Yes. I like loved it, right? But connection was always interpersonal, right? I couldn't text you. I couldn't DM you. Right? Or FaceTime, right? It was interpersonal. And so that connection where you're building with your peers, it was interpersonal. It was, you're with somebody. You went over their house, you walked, you biked, you took the bus, right? And so there was a connection like, oh, we finna meet up. They'll meet me at the Grand. Meet me at Capitol Court, right? Like, people remember Capitol Court, right? But meet me at Northridge. You know what I mean? Like, it was always places where it's just like, dude, pick up the house phone because, you didn't have a bunch of cell phones, but you had the house phone, and what we doing this weekend, right? And so it was that sense of connectedness. You fast forward, and when you think about connection, our young people are struggling with that 100%. Now, right? Young people are being bullied virtually.
Crazy.
Right?
Crazy.
You understand what I mean? So when you think of that, it's just like, whoa, we're in a whole different realm where young people, their needs are different. Right. And we have to be able to figure out how to change with the time, because as, we think about job opportunities. I remember I lived in a diverse neighborhood. I lived in the Sherman Parklet neighborhood. Right? And we had white neighbors, we had black neighbors, we had, you know what I mean? Like, there, my next door, which became one of my really, really best friends, her father was African and her mother was American, but it was a sense of diversity and a sense of, just we're building community. You fast forward where communities have sort of been decimated because the workforce has changed. All the opportunities that people could work here and have a livable wage and have we went to Great America. That was one of our things. We went to Great America every year, right? We had social things that we did because my parents, my dad particularly, worked at a meat company, and so that was a stable job. Right. For him and many people that was living in the city. Some people remember A.O. Smith, where are they now? Master Lock, where are they now? Yeah. Right? A lot of that has moved out, and so we didn't replace it with anything, right? And we didn't create a robust enough transportation system to get people out of the city to jobs. Those things, you all have lasting impacts. So as our community saw a lot of those shifts, young people started to see, well, my people don't get up and go to work every day.
Right.
What work to go to? They didn't have a car. They didn't have transportation, right? Some schools became neighborhood schools. So they started to look just one way. You understand what I mean? Right. So all of those things, when we talk about even the growth of property taxes, we pay our educational system through property taxes. To me, that's not a fair way to pay, because if you lived in an affluent neighborhood, well, guess what? You get to have a really nice school. But if you live in, not so much of an affluent neighborhood where property is going down, you have more vacant homes, right?
Yeah.
Guess what? You're telling me that, oh, well, I don't get the same resources you do? How fair is that, right? And so there's so many things that have changed over the course of the years that we just haven't had the opportunity to move with those changes in accordance to how we better support our community.
For sure.
I wanna go back to urban underground, right? You had how many youth would you say you helped throughout your journey with the org?
Thousands. It would, yeah. So just to give some perspective, because we did a few different things. So we had a cohort of young people. We started our first year that we started Urban Underground in 2000. We had like 23 or 24 young people. And over the years, one year we grew it to about 80. And we were like, whoa, that's a lot, right? Because for us, we prided ourselves. It wasn't about quantity. It was about quality. Do I know your mama? Do I know how many siblings you have? Yeah. Do I know where each one of you live? Right? And so when we talk about quality, it was more about what are we able to give the young people that we connected with. So, we got to that year because it was such a need and that was the only reason why we accepted so many young people, because I think probably that year, we probably had over 500 applications, because we would go into the schools, we would meet young people where they are, so we would go and recruit them, right? And so young people had to go through a process where you would fill out an application, you would come to an info session, like, let me tell you what we're doing. Then you would have to come to a one-on-one interview. Then you would have to come to a group interview. And that told us, you know what, are you really serious? Yeah. It was about weeding people. It was just like, are you serious about being here, right? And so that year we had that many young people. But we wanted to really focus on quality versus quantity, because that's how we build great leaders. And so in the very beginning, probably, Carl David was probably, in Urban Underground, probably the first 3 years. He was probably on cohort 2 or 3, when we started the organization. And again, it was an opportunity to figure out how to it was about building leaders. A lot of them went into politics just because that wasn't the goal. Right. It just so happened that many of them, the Darren Madison, who's a state representative, Kaylin Haywood is also another state representative. It just so happened my brother, David Bowen, was also a member of Urban Underground, worked for the organization, right? Like he was also county supervisor and then state representative. It just so happened that this was a leadership path that they took, because we always talked about, how do we make change? What does that look like? How are you a product of, if we have to change systems, where do you fall into all of that? I think I answered.
No, you did. And I was going to say, in order to be a great leader, you got to have great followers. And knowing what you do now, and knowing the people who you mentored in CNA lane, you did a great job in your organization.
Thank you so much.
And it showed every time I hear that, and I know another org, runner-up is, of course, Big always Sharlen get it in. Her and Reggie get it in.
I appreciate
They've been doing it for as long as, he said, ain't nobody that really been doing it as long as y'all been doing it. And I just talked to him today, and he was like, she get it in, man. You know what I'm saying? She one of them orgs who, she cared, and her proof is in the pudding.
Yeah.
You can say you're doing all this work, but who is to show for it? You got David, Carl, Jeff is the man on the camera side.
Yeah.
And another thing, your kids, like Matt, that's my guy. Shout out Matt, that's my guy for real. I see a lot of people doing this work, but how can you say I did a good job? By the products you produce.
Yeah.
And you did an amazing job.
Thank you so much.
For sure. That. But I want to go into, you've been doing it then, and then you do it now. I remember one time I was at this gun safety summit, and I was raising my hand. Sharlen, I appreciate you for this. She was like, get him. Make sure he's heard. And you do that all the time. I want to speak about the job fair you just had.
All of youth all summer.
That was powerful. I seen so many young people I knew in the community, and it was just opportunities for them to find real resources.
Yes.
So let's talk a little bit about that event.
Yeah, absolutely. And thank you so much for that love, because even the work that Victor and Dawn at Running Rebels does. Like, y'all, this is a community thing. There isn't one entity that can support all the young people in this city. It's Dion Shaw that I think, or Gray, Dion Gray, with her leadership organization. Like, it's so many of us. You have True School, you have Shalina and Fidel, that's over at True School. There's so much, there's a plethora of organizations, north, south, east, and west, that are doing really, really impactful work. And it really, truly takes all of us, because a lot of times each of us have a little different lane. You're doing art, you're doing theater, you're doing, sports, you know what I mean? All of us have a little bit of a different lane, but we come together to be able to support the young people in the city. And that's what our resource event was all about. My thing was, there's no way that young people this summer should be doing nothing. We just got too much stuff here,
100%.
right? Too much stuff,
100%.
right? And a lot of times people don't know, and parents don't know what those opportunities are. So it's just like, no, let's go. Let me make it really plain for you. Let me bring all these organizations together. Let me make it as easy as possible. And some people, we were teeter-tottering with the idea of having it one on the north side, one on the south side, and it was going to be a lot of work, to have multiple. But somebody was just like, you know what? Have it downtown. Have it right in the center. Have young people come to a beautiful place.
100%.
Because, some people, when some of the young people walked in that have never been to the Baird Center, they just walked around like this.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Experience is everything.
That's it.
Experience is
That's exact. And they sold me on that, because I was like, you know what? You're right. How do we take young people out of their comfort zone? How do we provide them to say, no, you can also, I know you live on the north side, but you can also come to this place to be able to get the support and services that you need. So it was just an opportunity to really share and there were so many organizations that were still missing, in that space. But we wanted to let our parents and our young people know, you need to be involved in something this summer. Take your pick. And next year I'll probably do it a lot sooner, because summer stuff for young people, some people start opening summer camp in January, and so we're thinking about a really good timeline to really make sure that young people have the time to sign up for those internships, sign up for those summer camps, sign up for those job opportunities. Yeah.
So you simplified it.
That's it. That's all it was. That's all it was.
But I hear that about you often. A lot of community people always say that you are very easy to talk to, that you simplify a lot of things. How do you keep that with yourself, even in all the positions that you've had moving forward? Like, how do you always keep the time to be able to just always be for a community?
Yeah, you know what? And thank you so much, for saying that, because I never want to be that person where it's like, oh, that's the Alderwoman. Ooh, you can't talk to her. You know what I mean? And some people do, right? Some people have this this air of, I'm this person and I'm elevated to this position. Like, no, when people it's so funny sometimes when, people that know me introduce like, this the Alderwoman. I say, honey, yes, but I'm first Sharlen. You understand what I mean? To my students, I'm Miss Sharlen. You know what I mean? So it's still being relatable.
For sure.
It's still saying, you know what? No, I'm still the same person.
Right,
I may be in a different position, and I always want to make sure that when I'm in the room or at the table, I want to always look around. Who is here? Who is not here? Who is not here? Who am I representing? Who do I need to bring into the conversation or into the space? Right? That's for me really, really important, because if I'm going to use my title, right, as a mechanism to be able to really build community, what am I doing with it?
Right.
Am I taking advantage of it? Because people do with all their titles. You understand what I mean? Like, because you just Elaine, I'm not going to return your phone call, but because you're president such and such of this company, you get first dibs. Honey, listen, there are no big I's or little U's. It's just like, I try to treat everyone equitably. I try to treat it. So the resident that, hey, this resident just called, you're going to get a call back, just like the CEO of a company called me. You're going to get a call back too, right? But I'm not going to put one over the other, right? So For me, it's always been about community, and it's always making sure that I'm staying just connected and grounded.
I love that. I love it. And everyone does say that about you, so thank you for that.
Yeah,
They do.
I appreciate that.
Speaking of grounded, you've been doing this work, amazing work, for a very long time. You kind of actually got a community love story, because
I like how you said that.
you and your husband, y'all did it together. Can you share with me, first of all, how you and Reggie, I know y'all met during the community, but how y'all kept it going? And when you have those moments of doubt, when it's like, man, how can I keep doing this?
Oh, yeah.
What keeps you afloat? Because this work is not easy.
No. And thank you so much for asking that, because it isn't easy. All of our young people weren't successful, right? And success as in, they followed steps and, were able to do what they were able to do. What keeps me going is that I have a young person that was an alum of the organization that is now incarcerated for a second time. And that young person actually lived with me, for a few months, and just mental, when you have mental health, and when we knew him, he had mental health needs. He was always in and out of school. He was, didn't have a really strong family structure, right? He was adopted when he was, like, all these things, right? Layered. And it reminds me the work that still needs to be done in order to support and meet people where they are. I have another young person right now, one of my alum, she's dealing with alcoholism, right? And she has a family, she's a single mom, and it's just like, those are the things that remind me that we still have work to do, right? How do we build a society, and how do we build a community where we're supporting, everybody, right? Because some of our young people, they got it. They I've nurtured my children, me and my husband have nurtured our children so that you can be independent. You can, my daughter has traveled on her own out of the country. Right? Those are the things that we've built. You understand what I mean? We've exposed them, right? We've put in the work to be able to say, you can dream big, you can go anywhere, you can do whatever, but you also have to make sure you're treating people with dignity and respect. So we're building all that. So we can let them go, right? We'll know that they'll have some trip-ups along the way, but for the most part, they'll be successful. On the flip side of that, we also are dealing with a generation also of young people that just disconnected from community, disconnected from family, you know what I mean? For a lot of reasons. You understand what I mean? And so with that, it's like, okay, how do we make sure that we're nurturing and supporting those young people as well, right? And so we have to really make sure that, for me, I'm reminded consistently that, Sharlen, your work still isn't done. There's people that need you. One thing that I told my young people is the number that I had in 2000 and before is the same number. I said, you'll always be able to reach me, Sharlen.
Wow.
No matter where you are in your life, you'll always be able to reach me. My number has never changed, right? And so it's for that connection, letting them know that you're going to be supported. We need that, for our young people. So I'm reminded constantly when I get those calls every day, because that's his only lifeline to people. When you're incarcerated, I have the ability to put money on my phone. I have the ability to put money on his books, or if he needs, a shirt or whatever, I have the ability to be able to support him because he had nobody.
Right.
Literally. You understand what I mean? And I could have turned my back.
Good.
I could have said, that's going to be somebody else's problem. That's going to be somebody else's issue. But I was just like, no, this is why I was here. This is why he was put in my life for a reason. This is why some of these young people come across our path. It's for a reason. How are we going to stand up? What are we going to do? How are we going to live our life so that we can still continue to be an example? The Bible talks about let your light so shine. It's not necessarily about speaking. It's about your actions. Your light is what you do, right? It's how you move in the world. And some people that you may not ever meet, but they watch you. They see you. Dang, I like how Trell moving. He may not know me, but wow, I like how and you inspire them without saying a
thing to them.
Wow, that's powerful.
Right? So we have to continue to be that light, and especially in the city where they talk about, oh, Milwaukee is the worst place to raise an African American child, a black child. Like, man, that's deep. You understand what I mean? To be told that, oh, we're the worst city in the country. You incarcerate the most people. Wow, I live here. So it could be doom and gloom, but I can also focus on like, man, I live in the best city in the country.
100% perspective.
Because I connect with great people. I'm doing the work. Other people are doing the work as well. I'm doing my little part, right? So that's what keeps me motivated, and that's what keeps me grounded and reminded that, you know what, I was here for a reason. And that's how I got into office.
We appreciate you for being in office, being the woman you are in the community. And we just need, that's why we're doing this podcast.
Yeah.
So the world can know. There's some people that only know you for
Yeah. Yes.
They don't even know you had a 20-year long run in the community for you.
Yeah.
But that's why we do this podcast, to have heart-to-heart conversations, so we can share this information with the world.
Yeah.
We
Appreciate that.
really do appreciate you for coming on our show today. You inspired me, talking to me. I really do. You just put a battery in my back to keep going, because you never know what somebody's going through.
That's it.
But you inspired me today to keep going. I appreciate you for spending this time with us. And that is the end of our episode today. Please follow us, subscribe to our channel, and please go show some love to Sharlen. You got any upcoming events or anything you got going on soon?
Well, it's summer, so I've just been telling people, listen, those that live here, get those block party applications in. Let's build community.
Yes.
Let's stay connected. When you see young people, smile at them. Speak to them more than anything. Speak to those young people that you may not ordinarily, that you may not ordinarily do. So just be that light.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.